Transmission received.
Redrew, we have the plans.
It is time to work on the second of our 3D panels. The in-wall speakers came in, which will be part of this panel, and we had to wait for it to get the actual size. I'll do an unboxing on the speakers at some other point. This red box here on the original panel from the references is a control panel. I actually like having a bit of this deep red in the room. I want to try to put it in a little bit without going overboard. Instead of it being on the bottom part, I'm going to have to move it to the top, because on the bottom it'll be too low for a speaker. You want your speaker to be like ear level for your primary seating. Otherwise, this is the panel. We got all the measurements. 10.2 by 14.2 is the speaker grill cover size. That's kind of a non-negotiable number, and I altered everything around it slightly to match that. But I also went with nice, easy to measure numbers, not. So it's going to be similar to the other video I did on the 3D panels, where we're going to have the backer board, which is the white. This gray is going to be the board in front of that, and then we'll pile on with the plywood and the cutouts and keep stacking it up, and we'll do some kind of grill or insert in these slots. 2 of these so it's symmetrical on the walls. Back to work. I thought this second one was going to be a lot harder than the first one we did with the big angled shape that's all one piece. I think it's actually going to be a lot easier. The placement might be harder, but I messed with the measurements so that it's 1 inch between each thing, or 1.5 inches if I need it to be bigger. So I made one of these. It's 22 inches long. We got 5 3/8 over here, 9.5 over here. Now I can take this, trace it onto my board by flipping it over, and reduce waste a lot, and then just cut it all out. I did use the circular saw to make the top perfectly square. Alright, here's a little look behind the curtain. If you watched the last video on making the other 3D panel, this is a little bit of old news for you. I recorded the entire room build before I looked at or edited any of the footage, because I wanted my room done, and I wanted it to be a concise, complete project so that every single week there was a new video until the end. It's still an ongoing project as we're adding updates and stuff, and that's the super fun part. Anyway, I lost all the footage on actually assembling this panel. When I first made the panel, this wasn't here, neither was this. So let's take a look at the panel itself. The furthest back layer is the brown board, then there's a thin layer of the subflooring on top of that, and all the thicker pieces are the 3/4 inch plywood. The grill and the speaker were not there when I initially glued this panel together. I used about a full tube of liquid nail on every section, and then stacked 5-gallon paint buckets and Olympic weight plates on top of it for a couple days to make sure. If there were any seams left before paint, I caulked it all in so it has a nice molded look and feel to it. The bonus, because I messed up and lost footage, is you get to see the finished panel. You get glimpses of the mostly finished room, and this grill wasn't here. I asked Jamie over at the Outer Rim. If you're not watching his stuff, you absolutely should. He makes incredible things, and he recommended this speaker fabric that he used on his. It was real cheap. It was like $9 to do all 4 of these panels. You can see how the light really catches it in different ways. It's like a tight plastic weave. It adds a lot more depth and dimension than if I just painted this black or did something equally as cheap. The surround is Eva foam. Not a fan. It was my first time working with it. If I had to do it again, I would go with wood. Another little bonus on this panel is the speaker grill. This was just flat wood. When I got it on, I traced the speaker outline to it. I used a straight saw, cut the hole. I painted it this deep red to add some color to the room. I'm going to add more of this color sporadically throughout without overdoing it. These just pop off, and there you have one of the speakers. The speakers are great, but I have an entire video on the speakers, maybe a few, because there was some learning there as well. So stay on the lookout for that in, I don't know, 14 weeks or something. There's a lot to cover, but I'm pretty excited about it, and here is a look at the finished product.